All right, welcome team. Session 13 of the learning program. So we were talking about, yesterday we spoke about the no-code agentic AI platform with LangFlow. And what did we discuss after that? After the LangFlow, we talked about, deployment, right? So using the fast API, how we can deploy the apps. Um, and today we'll continue with the observability part of the LLMs, how we can trace what's happening when you call an application, when you run an application with the LLMs, with the tokens, what's happening, how can you trace, how can you figure out how much it's costing you and all of that. So that's what we have. Several tools, like most of the standard platforms are providing their own observability, but there are some specialized ones focusing on this more, like we have LangSmith and from the Language Academy, and we have um, LangWatch, basically LangWatch. There's something called LangFuse. There are a few others. Datadog does, as you know, standard the observability. But these are so we will explore LangSmith and LangWatch and see how we do the observability as well as evaluation of the LLMs. So before we get there, um, yesterday we were trying a bit with struggling with the line flow, correct? So let's get back there and see. I'm not able to see my screen. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay. So we talked about the yesterday the workflow, right? He said, hey, this is your agent, you provide model. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this model provider, and we model and the key instructions. So tools, when you say enable the tool set on any of the component, some are by default enabled like this. So no, like this, the calculator. Okay. Um, so tool mode, you enable the tool mode. If they are not enabled, you can go and explicitly enable that. That's okay. Okay. So you enable the tool mode, right? And and then you can connect the tool set to the tools. So it's like all the set of tools that these are the tools that the agent can use to help with tasks. So the caveat here is you've seen the actions here, right? So if you see the actions for this tool names and description to help agents understand when to use each tool. Okay, so you can go, if you click on this actions, so you will see what are all the actions that are available. So basically, even if it is a single tool library, so basically from, if you see, even if you take Yahoo Finance or even if you take weather, whatever, it can have multiple actions within that. So each action again can be a tool call. specific tool calls. So it's not just one tool that will be available when you use a component, right? So here it is only fetch content. So description fetch content from one or more web pages following links recursively. Slug is different thing. So when you do this, and if you see calculator, the action says evaluate expression. Calculator perform basic arithmetic operations and all of that that can be done with the calculator. Okay. So when you go to playground, you see here, I have run this yesterday. I was working on this. The question we asked, if you see here, I just gave this website name as the input. Now what it executed is the fetch content. So we were actually missing this. When it is executing fetch content, this fetch content is actually a tool call. See here, this is actually using this action fetch content. A fetch underscore content is the function or the tool from this component URL. So it's actually doing the tool call here to get that information. Okay. So fetch, if you see the trace here, this is the trace. It shows whatever calls that it has done, how it is solving that problem and all of that. So it says executed fetch content function. That is the tool call that it has done. And this is the URL. So we didn't give this HTTP colon / and all of that. So it added to it and then sent it as a URL. So from the URL, it kind of text, URL, title, description, content, language, all of that. And then it got this output from that website. What are the services offered? Why choose? Why should you enroll? Contact information. So all of this, again, this information that it has pulled from using that tool call. This is the latest information using the tool. Now, when I do what is 5 factorial, then you can see here executed evaluate expression. Okay. So evaluate expression is again this one, this tool call here. Evaluate expression. So this is the tool call made to the calculator. So it is automatically making that decision as to which tool it has to call for certain problems based on the query, based on the question, right? So that's how, so it's doing here the tool calls. Now, if I want to add, let's say, yesterday we were trying to do this, but that's how it's going to work. We can try to see if it. So take another component here, enable the tool mode. Okay. Data method. See here, if you see, there are a lot of functions, a lot of tools here within this component. So which tool do you want to use to make the tool call? You can get this. So you can say get balance sheet, get calendar, get institution, get recommendations. So let's say I want to use get balance sheet. Okay. In the actions, it says fetch content data frame. So this is what it is using to get the Yahoo Finance thing. Okay. Now see if we can add the tools here. And let's go to playground and try to ask, get me the balance sheet of board. Fetch content data frame. So this Yahoo Finance thing is not responding. I mean, even yesterday also, it tried to do that. But the point here is it did try to access the tool. Okay, but the other tools are working. If you see here, fetch content data frame. So the agent has made a decision that it has to use this tool and call this tool. But however, that Yahoo Finance is not responding, so that's fine. But the whole point is, yeah, it can make the tool calls and solve that problem for you. Okay, so that's what I wanted to showcase from yesterday that we were trying to do. It's as simple as adding as many tools you want here and putting here. You could as well make an agent also another, if you want to have multiple agents, right? So you can agent, okay? And then if this agent, see, the moment I made the agent as the moment I switched this to tool mode, so this entire agent is now in the tool mode. It has disconnected the input and output from this agent. So what I'm going to do, so this became a tool set, right? So I can connect this tool set as a tool for this new agent. Okay. And I can use any other model here for this. Okay. And connect my input and output here. Okay. Now this is the supervisor agent. Once you call this, it can answer or it can delegate to this agent. So this agent will again use these tools. Similarly, I can have multiple agents with their own tools, and then all of them I can connect to this supervisor agent, like we are doing in the Crew AI. So it will decide which agent to call, and the agent will decide which tool it can use to execute the workflow. So that's all how these are all connected. You can build the workflow just by drag and drop attaching. Okay, so there will be a lot of documentation how you want to build multi-agent and all of this. You can explore the docs on the LangFlow overall. Okay, so that is about the LangFlow. Any questions before we move on to the next topic?
Can we add separate tools for supervisor agent as well?
Here?
Yes.
Yeah, you can. This agent can also have tools. This agent can also have other agents.
Oh,
Process bundles. Right? So this agent can now decide to use SERP API to search, or it can decide to call this agent and hand over the task to this agent. Then that agent can again take a call to execute using any of the tools available to that agent. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Harun, yesterday I missed the session, but if it is a repetitive question, please bear with. See, this doing development through the canvas, it's fine. In production environment, how this will be getting deployed?
Yeah. So this when you develop this, it's going to be a deployment option on the cloud itself. Okay, on the LangFlow itself, you can go and deploy it. This is just the playground to test, but we don't have the option here. But I can show you here. But if you have the license, the commercial version, it gives you option to deploy in the cloud. Okay. So this is. So the LangFlow has its own cloud where you can deploy the workflow, and then it will give you an endpoint. So that endpoint is what you can use as API or embed into any of your chatbot or batch process or anything. You just call that API and pass your input value. But however, all of this can be deployed on the LangFlow's own cloud and exposed as an API endpoint. So that's how it's deployed. We can't see that here, but I'll send you the link to that.
Okay, fine.
Okay. You can also export and import into any of the platforms that support the LangFlow workflows. It can, so if you want to deploy in AWS, if it supports Bedrock, supports LangFlow, you can export and import the entire workflow into the Bedrock and then deploy it there. That is also possible. Cross-platform deployment. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, great. So the next thing we want to talk about is our observability. Okay. Now we have a few slides. I don't want to walk through the entire thing, just show you a bit. So we talked about the LangChain Academy, right? So it has a LangChain components or the framework to build any of these RAG applications or build the agentic AI and all of that. That's a open source, the LangChain library. They have LangGraph, which can specifically build the agentic AI just like our LangFlow with several nodes and feedback and loop and all of that. And it's called a LangGraph Studio or platform here for deploy and manage with LangGraph platform. So just like every LangFlow has, LangGraph also has, deploy platform with the LangGraph. So another component of this stack is LangSmith, getting the visibility, evaluation, and observability. So how all of this comes together is if you have an application, you do prompt engineering, you do observability and evaluation for your application. So observability is basically tracing in LangSmith your configure metrics, dashboards, alerts based on these. And evaluation is your production traffic, score application performance, and human feedback on your data. So evaluation mostly depends on, when you're trying to benchmark some models or application for your particular use case. Prompt engineering, we know based on different prompts, again, we look at evaluation, how the model is behaving, how when you change your prompt, how close it is coming to the evaluation and all of that. So what are the key features is you can trace the LLM calls, you can trace the whole chain, retriever, you can log the metadata, you can evaluate, monitor, and drill down on all of your features. So these are all the standard features of any observability platform that you want to do with the your AI applications. Okay. As I said, there are several platforms like LangSmith, LangWatch, LangFuse, Datadog. So many other of them are coming up with their own observability Some are less known names, new platforms that are coming out. But all of these focus on the open telemetry. Basically, it's built into the models. Any input output that's going into the models, they send out the log in a as per the standards of open telemetry. So open telemetry states that they have some certain standards or certain framework how each tool has to spit out the log kind of traces. So that is used to build all of your dashboards. So if they conform to open telemetry, it can be integrated to any application. Okay. So yeah, I don't want to go deeper into this, but we'll go into the application. Oh, 1 second. I have 1 second. Okay, so we have here LangSmith. You can just log in and create with your Gmail account. Okay. I will go ahead. So just quickly show you the So these are the kind of traces you can build with. So this is out of the box dashboards that LangSmith provides to look at any of the your project application you have. You integrate with LangSmith, get number of runs. Basically, if you say here Saturday, you have November 1st. You have 4 successful runs for this project application. There are no errors. The latency you have P50 and P99. So what does that mean? P99 means 99% of the calls were completed under this timeline. So 1.5 seconds. So mostly 99% of your calls were completed within 1.5 seconds. So P50 means 50% of your calls were completed in 1.07, less than 1.07 seconds. So less than 1 second. So which means the other 50 have been over 1 second, which means up to 1.58 seconds. So we generally track these two metrics, P50 and P99, for any latency. So latency is how fast you are getting your response from the time the question you asked and the time that it comes back. So error rates you can trace. It gives you LLM count, so number of LLM calls. So it is both the application and the LLM calls. So how many LLM calls were made, success, and then what is the latency of the LLM model itself. That can be done. The cost and tokens. So total cost, how much is the total cost? You don't see because it is very minor, $0. Cost per trace, for each tracing, how much cost it has accumulated for the calls. It's not the cost for the trace, but whatever operations happen within that trace, how much is the cost for those operations or calls that you have. P50, P99. Output tokens and output tokens per trace, input tokens, how many output tokens were sent, how many input tokens, how many output tokens were sent back by model, how many input tokens were sent to the model. So all of these you can look at. Okay. So you have run count by tool. If you have tools, how much the tool, if you have, say, again, API key for the tool, how much the tool has costed you. So all of that can be plotted here and looked at. Okay. So
Yeah,
runtime,
Arun.
yeah.
Hey, Girish, Arun, just a basic question, maybe a dumb one, but
Mhm.
the lang chains are basically it's like a framework, right, where you
Mhm.
can basically connect any of these large language models, right?
Yes, yes.
So it's a separate company by itself, or is this something that, if it is not a separate company by itself, then, what is the benefit of, say, a OpenAI or a AWS or, Microsoft to kind of, are they in competition with some of these guys? I'm just trying to figure out like how all of these things come together though, Like can
Yes.
I have a LangChain? Can I do whatever I do on LangChain on, let's say, OpenAI or on a Microsoft?
Okay. Yeah. So it's limited. Basically, as I said, right? LangChain is a framework where it gives you libraries to connect all of these components. So what components, like you have a vector database, you have a LLM model, you want to connect these two as a complete chain to build a RAG application. So that's why it's called a chain. So yes, LangChain is a company. It's called LangChain Academy, which has these components I was showing earlier. It has LangSmith, LangGraph, and LangChain. Earlier, they used to have LangServe also for deployment, but they retired. Now they're using LangGraph Studio. Now, LangGraph is commercially available if you want to build agentic applications and deploy your solutions. Same thing, IBM LangFlow is a company from DataStax. You can also build there, buy commercial license, deploy. Okay, each company you can deploy. If you don't want any of them, you can build your own open source. LangChain is an open source library. It has an open source library as well. You can take and build and use it without any cost and deploy on your own. Okay. Same thing with Crew AI platform. They are a company, commercial company, but they have open sourced it, which means you can take their source code libraries, use it for free, build your own, and deploy it. They don't ask you, they don't charge you, but they also have a commercial part of it where you can subscribe licensing fee and use it, their cloud, to deploy and support. Same thing with Databricks. Databricks has most of it. Apache Spark is open sourced. You can build Databricks Delta is open sourced. You can take and build your own platform using, you can use Delta as a storage. You can use Apache Spark. uh, you can build on your own. Databricks does not charge you. Many of their components are open sourced. You can just take it, build it, and use it. They don't charge you. But if you buy the licenses, only cost you because they will give you support and implementation and whatever comes with that extra, right? So similarly, all these companies, some of them have an open source component where you can use for free, or if you buy the license, you can use that cloud to deploy and manage. They have the support, their support for you if in case you need help. So that's how all of these models are. Now coming to OpenAI, right? So anywhere, if I'm using my own library to build my own, okay, I'm not paying anybody. I'm not paying LangChain. I'm not paying Crew AI. I'm not paying anybody. I'm just taking open source libraries that are available and building on my own. However, the LLM model is not free. Okay, all this framework is free. Libraries are free. The Python libraries, the code is free. But if I want to use an LLM model, that is not free. I have to buy from OpenAI or Anthropic or somebody. Having said that, even the models, some of the models are available for free. You can use that. Like DeepSeek is free, open source. You can use that. Like Olama is free. You can use that. So some of these are in a similar fashion. They are free. Whatever is open sourced and free, you can still use it. But whatever is under a commercial license, you have to buy that. Okay, it can be from OpenAI, it can be from Anthropic, it can be from Cohere, whatever model you need. Okay. Same thing with vector database. I'm using building a RAG application like we did with LangChain. I took OpenAI API, so I'm paying the OpenAI for the using their models, and I also need a vector database. Now, if I use FizeDB, it's free. Chroma, some of it is free, some of it is licensed. If I want to use a Milverse or VV8, something like highly scalable, strong database for production purposes, I have to buy from them. So I pay a license to them and then integrate it in my RAG application. So each component you can decide to use open source, or you can decide to buy from a specific vendor and then build the entire application. So it's basically like, let's say you have a web application or your own application. So the backend you're using Oracle. So Oracle is not free. So you have to buy Oracle to integrate it. Now you have Datadog or something for observability. So you have to pay for the Datadog to integrate into that application to give you the metrics. Okay. And say you are using a third party, some kind of API for the postal. Okay. So if it is open source free, you can use for free. But if they are, if it comes with a cost, you have to pay. Or if you have Databricks, you have to pay for. So it's all like individual components that depends on whether it is freely available or commercially available, which one you want to use. Okay. Now, can OpenAI do all of this? OpenAI is basically giving you only the models to use in any of your applications. Okay. Recently, they have come up with Agent Kit, where you can also build these kind of agentic AI applications. So if you use OpenAI license completely, now you can build everything there. Even the agents, use their models, use the agents, everything on that platform. But that does not stop you to integrate with any other models or any other components or vector databases from that platform. So every platform will be open to use components from other platforms if you choose to. Does that answer your question, Girish?
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sayed, one question. The OpenAI agents will support other LLM, or it supports only the ChatGPT LLMs? I mean,
No, I think it should support any other LLMs. I haven't tried that, but any agentic platform should support models from see, the moment you do that, it's a vendor lock-in, right? So it will get some resistance. What if I already have Anthropic contract or license and I just want to try the agent kit with those models? So there will be some of it will not be native integration. If I say it will be more easier or default to go with OpenAI models, but it should be possible to use any other models.
okay. Follow up on that one.
Just
In
like
every
say
cloud-
just like in the AWS, right? You have Amazon Titan, Bedrock Titan models, but they have hosted all the other models also you can use. So similarly should be with other platforms as well.
Yeah, that is my follow-up question actually. Every cloud provider coming up with their own agent toolkit actually.
Correct.
So over this
Yeah.
period, everybody used to use their own tools only, not the outside tools, right? Like
No, platform will be
there.
their own. Platform will be their own, but integration of the components should be open. If they want to use vector database, so let's say AWS has its own S3 vectors or OpenSearch serverless indexes that you can use for vector search. But that does not stop you from integrating with a PG vector data. You should still be able to do it from Bedrock. Databricks has its own, you can build the indexes on their Databricks delta tables. You can just create an index table and use it for vector search. But you can still integrate from an external vector database there. So wherever there are components, there will always be an option to use custom inbuilt house, in-house hosted components or integrate with the external components. Because even see, AWS has its own Redshift, it has its own Redis and all of that. But you can still integrate with Databricks platform. You can still integrate with Snowflake. You can integrate with any Postgres database, SQL Server database, whatever. It's just it's always available. Otherwise, they will go out of business if they do vendor lock-in. So it was earlier that you go to vendor, you just are stuck with that vendor. You cannot take the data out or you cannot get the data in. But it's not like that now anymore. So it's all open. These ERP platforms were like that, right? So PeopleSoft, SAP, all of these were vendor locked in. You can't take data out, kind of thing. But now it's not like that. It's all pretty open.
Got it. Thanks, sir. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So let's get into this. How do we actually make, as I said, right? So if you say, okay, so I'm using the LangSmith. I install these libraries. Okay. Now all I need to do here is, see, again, even if I'm using LangSmith, the model I'm using, so LangChain Academy does not have its own LLM models. So I'm using OpenAI model. And with that, I am also adding a LangChain API key. This is actually, if I use LangChain API key, I can use the LangSmith by default. Okay. And I am setting LangChain tracing v2, this flag to true. And I'm giving a project, I'm giving a name. So let's say I'm not giving a name here. Okay. So I just run this. Okay. Now I will go here, tracing projects. We'll just go delete. Okay. So we have default and evaluators. Okay. These two. There's nothing in this last 7 days traces. Last 7 days, we are looking at nothing. And then we don't have any new project. So I commented out, we are not creating a project. So what I'm doing here, I'm just mimicking a RAG application. I'm not building the complete application because the focus here is not to build RAG application, but just to see how the tracing performs when we build a RAG application and trace the entire application. So I have this OpenAI. This is my retriever. Basically, retriever will give you results from your vector database. So here I'm mocking it and just sending, hey, this is the result from vector database. You assume that this is coming from the vector database. Now, this is my question. As soon as I get the question, I'm calling the retriever. And there is a system message. So remember, we said there will be 3 parts: system message, human message, and AI message, right? So this is a system message. I'm hard coding the system message. So it's not hard coding. I'm giving the instructions, a system message. So there is a system, there is a user as a question. Okay. So this question is what I will be passing in. And model is this I'm using. So I'll do this. Now I will run this RAG with weighted this question, basically run this. So once I ask this question, it goes in the retriever. The retriever will give this information. This will be sent to the LLM model and the model will give you the answer, right? Now, once I do this, since I have set the tracing flag on, so I go here and see immediately within the default project, since I have not given a project name, so I get this call trace for the chat OpenAI. So if I click on this, it gives me the details. What is the model that I have used? ChatGPT 4o mini. I get run, feedback, and metadata. So in the run, you can see what is the system message we have used, right? This is the entire system message we have given. Where is the user question that we asked human? This is the question that we asked. You can also see what was the output. It's not showing the. Okay. I don't know why it's not displaying here. So that you see the output also here, and then you can also see some metadata, model name, model type, who's the provider of the model, what are the input tokens, output tokens, the total tokens, cache, audio, reasoning, runtime, what was the runtime used, LangChain core version, libraries, LangSmith, platform, all of this information you get here. Okay. The moment you do this, again, you can go and look at monitoring and then click on default project. So you get your dashboard directly. So here you have this call where one successful call you made in the default project. And then the same things you get P99 is under 1 second, so 0.8, whatever is the time. Error rate, and all of these that we have looked at, LLM count. So one LLM call, what was the cost? Cost is negligible, close to 0 cents, 0.00 something, it will be there. So all of this information is displayed here, logged here, tracing. Okay. Now, this is the default one. Now, if I go back, I want to say create my own project. I will go. All I have to do is for my application, like you give some application name, right? So you have to give what is the project name. So once you do this project name and rerun this, so this will be, so you come back here and in the projects, it will choose. Default project. Delete those. Here. See. So here we see the LangSmith demo is what is created. The moment we put the name there, so we got the LangSmith demo here, and then we are able to see here. So it's not just refreshing. So the LangSmith demo, now this is the call. Okay. Chat OpenAI, total tokens 40. Again, so what is the input cost? 0.0000000495, 005042 cents. So it's almost like 0 cents, negligible thing. 33 input tokens, 7 output tokens that we have. So if you look at the trace, you have the model name here, input, output, and all of that. Okay. Now I have created my project, so I can put all the traces from this application goes to this project. Now I want to, this is only the, excuse me, the model call that is being traced here. Now let's say if I want to use the entire retriever and drag application, so I can do the whole chain. Now, so what I have done here is for the RAG, I have added the notation called traceable. So the moment I put this traceable for any of this function, so automatically OpenTelemetry is going to use for tracing for this function, this application, in this application. So now you will have this RAG as your one of the traceable component. If you go here and see, it's taking time to refresh. So now you see here, this RAG is also traced, and within the RAG you have the model call. So in the same RAG call, you have RAG, where did Harrison work this question, all of this information that it can trace and log, and then within that you have the model call again, all of this. Now if you go and want to say add retrieval step, which is I want to add RAG, also I want to add run type as retriever, this is traceable. So this time I'm also tracing the retriever. So now if I go and check this, the third call will also have a retriever. So this is the latest call. Now you see here, the retriever is also there in the chain. So retriever is just like it has an input. You ask a question and it gave an output. So this was logged as part of the retriever. Then you have your standard model call, same thing here. Now you have made so many calls. So if you go to LLM calls, it will show how many LLM calls were made. So there were 3 LLM calls that you are made because you ran the application or job 3 times. Okay. If you go to monitoring, if you go to dashboards, now you see the number of LLM calls you see here. LLM calls. So you have 2 LLM calls. So it should be yeah. See 3 LLM calls. It's taking time to render some lag. So 3 LLM calls we did 3 times. So the latency you can see P50, P99, 1.33 seconds, and all of those metrics that are logged here. Okay. Now you can add your own metadata. Say, for example, I already have a metadata here for each of the call. If you want to add, so I have this LangSmith, is method, run depth, all of this metadata here, right? Now, if I want to add more metadata, some custom metadata you want to add, like user, for example, which user is executing or logging or running this, you can capture from the login details in your application and pass it here to login as the additional metadata for this call to trace. So that you say, if in the traceable, you can add metadata. So this is the metadata I want to add. Of course, model will already be there, but explicitly. So I'm also adding my user. So you can get this from any of your internal application ID from the login details, and then pass it on to tag it in the tracing. If I run this and execute this, so my latest call here will log the user also in the metadata. So if I click here and then see here in the metadata, it says user Arun LLM GPT-4. So this is the metadata that we are adding for the call. So you can also add the metadata to this tracing. So each application, all you have to do to use LangSmith, if you want to use, you can just do like, LangSmith demo. You just use LangSmith project and the LangChain API key because it is natively integrated. You don't have to do anything else to log. You just need the LangChain key, so it will automatically do the logging for you. Okay. However, if you are using, say, LangWatch instead of LangSmith, there is another platform called LangWatch. So if you are choosing to do LangWatch, then you have to use the open standard telemetry. That it's not native anymore, right? It's not LangChain and LangSmith. So as I said, if you use the same components, it is native. It's easier to integrate because under the hood, they will take care of everything. Since you are getting now you want to integrate LangChain, but you want to use LangWatch as your observability instead of LangSmith. So it should be possible to integrate with LangWatch. However, the implementation details will be different right now because it's not native to the LangChain platform, right? The ecosystem. So how do we get into the LangWatch, right? So let's see what LangWatch is. So basically here you can do this tracing, monitoring, you get your data sets, and there are some additional things like prompts. Is you can store some of your prompts as a library, and then you can do versioning and you can use those prompts there. And then you have this playground to test any of your models. Same like we looked at, all the platforms has this playground sandbox where you can add and compare multiple models here, give the same input, and then you get output from different models. And see here, deployment for LangChain, there is a studio. This is basically your LangGraph studio, but it's not enabled because you have to buy the have license. It's paid service. Works with LangSmith deployments or graphs that are running locally by the LangGraph server. Okay. So you can endpoint of your local server. You can choose this to deploy and do all of that. I'm not able to do it here. Then if you're done, you can view your what are the workflows or what are the applications that you have deployed using LangSmith. Okay, so this is the platform. Now you want to go to LangWatch. This is another platform called LangWatch. Again, they have some pricing. Basically, trial you can do, but you have a LangWatch cloud. You can do self-hosting. You can developer plan for free. No credit card required. Self-hosting, you can do your own hosting on your own. Okay, so this is European company. You have in euros, developer free, and all of this are various options. Okay, you get these unlimited evaluation, optimization, support, only 2 users, This is 30 days access, 180 days, all of this. Okay. Now you go here. So trusted by data stacks. Data stacks is your Langflow, right? So Langflow, again, you can integrate with LangWatch for the observability. So this was like you can do cross-platform. Some of them allow other platforms to be integrated with them. Right now, just create our own thing here, and then if you want to do a basically you can also do the same evaluation, same traces and analytics here. Okay. So if I run this same input output here, you get trace details, almost same. What is the agent chat invoke, how many tokens, what is the price, what are the functions that you have used, so what are the parameters, what is current price, input, output, all of this. Same thing you can trace and trace details, evaluations we don't have. I go to analytics. Same thing you can see here, dashboards. So how many traces, threads, so observability, LLM metrics. How many LLM calls, what is the total cost, total tokens, all summary, LLM usage, model split, average completion time, cost per message, tokens per message. So all of these standard metrics are available here as well. Okay. Now, how do we get this integration with LangWatch instead of if I run my LangChain job application, but I'm don't want to integrate with LangSmith, I want to go with LangWatch. So how do I do that? So basically, let's say I have the same application. It's going to take time. Okay. Let me read on this. So we get LangWatch here. See here, Agno framework. I'm using LangWatch for the dashboard. But I also saying here, open inference instrumentation Agno. Okay. So this is the library because I'm using Agno framework here. And I want to write to LangWatch. So I need the open inference instrumentation because any models, as I said, right, open telemetry standard, the tracing, whatever information you are getting is because by default, the models adhere to the open telemetry standards and they spit out all the tracing, what they are doing, all those metrics they give you out. Otherwise, how will you get that information? So each framework, if it is Agno or say GenAI or LangWatch or whatever, LangSmith, LangChain, they have to understand, take that information using open telemetry integration, and then use it for the observability. Even if you want to come up with a new observability platform, all you have to do is you have to develop how you can build these dashboards using the open telemetry standard, that information to collect from any of the tools. Okay. This will take some time to install, but meanwhile, let's go through this code walkthrough, right? So again, OpenAI API key. So again, I got the LangWatch key here because I'm integrating with LangWatch for the observability. Agno, because I'm building agentic AI here, agent application with these tools. Now here, this is where I'm integrating with LangWatch setup. Okay, initialize LangWatch and instrument Agno. So LangWatch.setup, I'm using Agno instrumenter. That's all you need to do. So once you take the Agno instrumenter, it will automatically collect all the information from this application and send it to the LangWatch because we already sent the LangWatch API key. So this is the extra additional step that you need to do, which we did not do with the LangSmith, because that was natively integrated. Okay, and then we same thing, all just the agent. We don't have to do anything here other than this setup. So automatically it will go to the LangWatch, everything. Still running.
Traceable is not here.
Sorry, Anand?
Traceable, which used in LangSmith.
The annotation. The
Oh, the
annotation you are
annotation.
using here.
Yeah, I think it should be. I mean, you have to look at the documentation for LangWatch, how you want to add it. But I'm now tracing at the agent level, everything in the application. So each platform will have their own way of enabling the components, right? So you have to see if LangWatch allows you to do that kind of tracing, or it's the application, entire application. Okay, so that is installed. Now run this. Run this. So now you go here, check your application metrics. See, now it has become 4 calls. So earlier it was 2. Now we have additionally 2 more LLM calls here. Go to tracing. So this is about 11 hours ago. This was the previous old one. This is less than a minute ago. This is the current one. This is the thread, input, output, trace details. If you go here, 104 tokens, total cost, completion time, all this metadata here. You can see trace ID, telemetry language is Python, Open Telemetry. This is what I was talking about. Telemetry SDK. Name is Open Telemetry. So this is what it uses to integrate. Now then you have some LangWatch, all of this. Agent is top price agent .ro. Okay, that is the agent it's using. So where did this come from? This comes from your application. So the name, see here, the agent, I have named it as stock price agent. Okay, so that is what is coming here, stock price agent. This is what is run. And we know the model, GPT-4o mini, 31 prompt, 54 completions, duration 6 seconds. This is the timestamp. All you have LLM input, your role, your instructions, what you gave for the use system, for the user, what is the content, everything is logged for each call. For this is what you use for tracing, right? If you want to troubleshoot or go back and check something, what is the generated? So for the agent function call, it generated a symbol NVDA, name get current stock price. So this is the agent function we are seeing, right? There will be multiple, even if you use Yahoo tools, Yahoo Finance tools, you see here, all you gave was the Yahoo Finance tools. So this is actually a list. It took a complete multiple functions, multiple tools. Now, if you see here, what are those tools? When you add that processing tools for model, you get all of these tools from Yahoo Finance. Get current stock price, get company info, get stock fundamental, get income statements. So we looked at those in the drop downs in the Langflow, right? So all of these tools are added. So out of these tools, it is saying that it has called the get current stock price tool. This tool was used to get our response because we asked what is the current price of NVIDIA. Okay. Now let's get the historical stock price of, if I change this and say run this again. Processing tools for the model. Top analyst. See here, see the tool calls. Now it is using this tool, get historical stock prices too. Right? So last time it used current stock price tool. Now it is using get historical stock prices tool because that's the question that we asked. So based on the question, it switched the tool. Fetching historical prices. So it dumped all of this information as the table here. Historical stock prices. Okay. So same thing now, if you go and check the trace here, see, get historical stock prices. This is the input, this is the output. Okay. Now you can go and look at all the trace details. In this, if you go to trace details, so you will see stock price agent run, and then you can see which tool was run, how much time it has taken. So all of this tracing can be done here. Then we look at. Okay. Any questions? The same thing, I don't know, some LangFlow was not able to use this tool, however, but in our using LangChain, you can see how it's kind of beautifully giving all the tools and selecting the tool based on the query that you have. Okay, and then you can also see how all of this tracing is done here. So you can, obviously you have the filter, how many days you want to go back and watch, filters, table view, list view, all of this. Any questions before we get on to the last topic, evaluations on this? So this is all about tracing and monitoring and the dashboards. So you can also look at the analytics in the dashboard if you want to see. We have 3 traces. You can do all of this. $0.009, 6 LLM calls, all of the summary. Okay. Any questions, guys? Audible? I'm still here. You're still here?
Yes, you are audible, Arun.
Okay. So anybody has any questions? No? Okay. So let's move on to this, the next one called evaluation. So basically you want to evaluate a LLM model. So that's the very crucial step in building your applications, right? How do I choose an LLM model? Right from the session 1, many of us had this question. How do I choose this model versus that model, when I want to do some application? So how you do is you do using, so it's standard benchmarking. You take 3 or 4 tools, use it, run it through different scenarios and see which one works best for you. As you said, there are different levers that you can tune when you are running your application. It can be model itself, okay? Or it can be a large model versus small model. It can be multi-domain model versus a specific domain model, small language model versus large language model, which based on your use case. It can be model tuning, train with your own data. Then it can be the context, the kind of retrieved results that you are getting from the vector database if you are using a RAG. It can be your vector database search itself, what algorithm you are using to search. Remember cosine search versus dot matrix, product search versus square distance method. So it can be that. It can be your chunking strategy. If you still go back, are you having two big chunks or two small chunks? Is there enough overlap? So all of these are the various levers as an architect or as a solution architect you look at when you are building this application. But the core of it is still, how my model will perform given some scenarios, test data, right? So what we do here, if you go, there is a evaluation technique that you use. So if I'm using a model, so there are multiple step process. If you use in LangWatch, you can take a task, select your data set. Data set is your test data, basically. So you want to pass some test data to the model. You execute and evaluate. So how are you going to execute is, if you, let's say, go to the workflow. This is one example I'm showing you. What happens in this workflow is, this is your evaluation workflow. Here you have entry, which is a data set with 7 rows, input and output. So this output, see, normally if you are writing a test case, right? So what do you have in a test case? Tell me. You're writing a test case for some function. So what do you have in your test case? Anybody? I think we have some QAs here. Vinay is not here. Venkat or somebody?
We give some sample data and expect a output, right? Like whether we are getting the expected output or incorrect output. We used to validate using asset.
Okay, so we have an input. We have an expected output. Then what do you compare with?
Yeah, both input and out. I mean, whatever expected output, the output comes from the actual
output, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have an input. For the input, there is an expected output that you're expecting, and there is an actual output that the application is giving you. So you compare for one input, you compare what is the if the expected output is matching with the actual output. In traditional test scenarios, you do an exact match. Okay. Hey, mostly it is like text string that you match, or it is a number that you match, whatever, or a Boolean value that you match, right? In the world of LLMs, it's context based. You cannot match an output of a LLM exactly with anything because every time it's generating new content. So here, how do you match the expected output with the actual output is, again, using an LLM as a context. Okay, you give your question to an LLM and you get an output. And then you have an expected output. So you take this actual output from a model and your expected output, take these two and then give it to another LLM and ask it, hey, see if these two are matching or not using the context. It's not exact match, but see if these two answers are matching or not with the context. So that LLM will tell you whether these two answers are matching, saying that, hey, this is matching true or false. So that we call it as LLM as a judge. So we use another LLM to check whether our answers are matching or not. So here, if you see the simple workflow, the input here, this is my test input, I am sending to the model. So the model will give you output. So what is this output? Is it expected output or actual output? what my model is giving me. This is the actual, right? This is input, and this is the expected output here within the data set. So this is the input. This is the expected output. Okay. Now, when I give this question to a model, it will give me some answer. That is the actual output. Now, what I am doing, I'm sending the actual output, okay, and the expected output. See, output and expected output, these two, to the LLM, another LLM, and the actual input. So now I have, this LLM has the input, the output, and the expected output. All three: input, actual output, expected output. So this LLM will match these two and give you a result as a Boolean value, saying that, hey, it's like assert. You are asserting whether this and this match or not. The actual output and the expected output are matching or not. Since you cannot do a exact match, you are asking the LLM model to do that matching for you to see if these two are contextually matching, not exactly matching, and then pass a judgment. So that's why we call LLM as a judge here. Okay. So
one question, Sayed.
Yeah.
Are we taking output from OpenAI, for example, and then giving the validation also to the same OpenAI? I mean, yeah, OpenAI, like ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's tricky. Yes. So I know. How do you trust this model to judge this model, right? Yes, it's kind of tricky. Yes, but anyways, it's not limited to using an OpenAI model. So you can use another model as judge here. It can be from Anthropic, it can be from DeepSeek. It's basically any other provider, any other model you can use as judge.
But here I don't see option like LLM option, right? When the validation happens. Then which LLM it is using to validate the output
this
from
one?
the LLM? Yeah, correct.
I think it's using some default model. I can't see it here, but it's not the. It's not the same model for sure.
Maybe the tool developed something internally to do this validations.
Yeah. So it's the LangWatch has these components. LLM as judge, LLM as Boolean. It can give a score. It can give true or false, something like that. See, if you go to workflows here, you go to create. Like simple rags here. If you see this, so these are the evaluators that you have. You can also choose to have an exact match. Okay, so there is an input generated query. Colbert B2, what is this? I don't know, some component here, which will generate an answer. And that is sent to the exact match here. Yeah, see, default LLM is 4O meaning. You can switch this. Okay, so there it was using default LLM, but you can switch any of the, see here, Anthropic model, OpenAI models, Gemini models. So these are all hosted models that are available on the LangWatch. And you can use any of these models to Azure, OpenAI models, DeepSeek, Llama, AWS. Yeah, they have everything. You can choose any of the model to do this.
But this is almost same like our development, right? Like when we develop, we can do this validation, just defining the role or do the validations, right? So how this is different from actual development we do there itself, we can do our testing.
Yeah, you test it, but how do you make sure it's you can write your own prompt again. So
Yeah.
how do you know how good is your prompt? So there is always some kind of expertise that you are trying to use, right? So LangWatch with its components has perfected these components that will write its own prompt to compare the source and target values to give out a answer. So yes, if you want, see all it is doing is taking two inputs, and then you can put a prompt. Hey, take these two strings and see if they are matching semantically as per the context, and provide an output as a true or false. That's all it is you need to do. It will give you. But again, you have to keep tuning that component also, right? So you want to focus on your application, or you want to focus on that tuning of that evaluator. So this is off the shelf evaluator. Anything you can do yourself, but you can take it off the shelf, use it, which is already available. It's not like you cannot do it on your own. You can. Again, as I said, right? It's just another model taking two inputs and comparing and giving it to you. There's no other thing. But internally, they have tuned it to give these different kinds of answers. So you can just drag and drop and connect and say, hey, I want to do exact match, or I want to answer the match. I want to do factual match. I want to do a language detection, Boolean, LLM as judge, a score, a category, and then these are all of these there. Context precision, context F1, ragas. This is RAG as a service or something. So that also you can check. There are multiple options that are available. Summarization score, prompt injection detection, you can do check within this. PII detection you can do. So these are again basically your guardrails that I wanted to talk about. Probably we couldn't get enough times. Next week we will touch upon that briefly. What are the guardrails? What is PII detection do? How do you detect prompt injection and all of that? So SQL query. And these are two NLP metrics, blue score and rogue score. These are two NLP metrics, traditional NLP, natural language processing metrics. You can get a score of your LLM and compare it with the standard industry standard benchmark metrics like rogue and blue score and rogue score when you are comparing. Okay, so this is the framework. You can just build workflows and use any of these evaluators to do the evaluation. Okay, so prompting techniques you want to use, you can put LLM node in this workflow. But yeah, the answer to your question was yes, we can choose any model to do the evaluation. Okay, of course, it doesn't make sense to use the same provider and same model to do both. That is why we use different models or different providers. You should use different model, different providers to do this valuation, unbiased kind of a thing. But in the same time, because two models will get two different answers for the same question, right? How they provide the context, how they provide the answer. So that's why we should use a different model to judge. Now, okay, coming back to what we were doing here. Okay. So we are doing an offline evaluation. So this is how you build this. So we got this question and answer, 7 questions and answers, right? And then you can go, what is your LLM prompt? What is your execution method? Run a prompt, any LLM model to evaluate. This is the prompt. See here, model, you can do switch this model, whatever you're having your model here to get the user input and output. This is the first one that we are doing. What model you are evaluating, and then evaluation type. what aspect of your LLM you want to evaluate. I want to do expected answer evaluation, or I want to do LLM as a judge, because I don't have a expected answer to my question. So I want the LLM just to judge it without me giving you the expected answer. So these are different evaluators, or you can write your own evaluator also here. Okay. So we are just using, I have an expected answer. I want the model to compare and let me know how the model is performing for these questions and answers. So when you do this, you can run and it will run against all of these and you get answer match. How many have passed? 70%, 80%, 90%. And then you can see if it is not doing a proper answer, then you can go back and do tuning, or maybe you can change the prompt to the model, whatever tuning you have to do to increase this answer to a whatever you think is the benchmark. Maybe 90% is good enough or 80%. So based on that, you can do. So when you run the evaluation, it takes each question, passes through the model, gets the answer, and then passes through the other model to check whether this answer and the actual answer is correct or not. See here, see first version is 50%, then 71, then 85, then 74, 71. So like that, it's changing, because if you change the data set, expected answer, or the prompt, it keeps changing. So here we got the results, 85%. If you see here, you can say all of these are true. We got one wrong answer, false. Details. The predicted answer provides general list of common payment methods that businesses might accept, but it does not specifically confirm the payment methods accepted by the entity in the question. So the question was, what is the payment method that are accepted? Now LLM is giving generally accepted, like Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, whatever. But I am, as a company, I may not be accepting PayPal. Just say. So it does not give that question, that answer, the gold answer, because the gold answer specifically lists credit cards, PayPal, and bank transfers, only these three. But this LLM is giving in general. So it does not match. That's why it does not directly answer the question. That is why it has failed. So that's at 85%. Okay. So like this, you can build any kind of workflows if you want to benchmark and build your workflows here. You have all of these already available evaluators you want to check. Answer match, exact match. If you want, you can choose this exact match. Contextual match, we use this. Language detection, it detects the language of the input and output text to check is in the same language or it is giving a response in a different language. Okay. Ragas assess the extent to which the generated answer is consistent with the provided context. So hallucination, basically. So whatever context we have provided. So these all pretty much look similar, but they have how accurate is the retrieval compared to expected context. So when you're doing testing, you look at what are all of these. You run your model through all of these and see which one is more important to you and evaluate on top of that. Okay. So that is the observability, tracing, monitoring, and evaluation. Okay. Any questions before we wrap up? I think we are at time. So next week, we will be wrapping up our training. We will do some advanced concepts like MCP next week, and some architecture projects we will discuss. And if there are any pending topics like guardrails, we will cover that next week and wrap up. Okay.
Yeah, sure, Arun.
Okay. All right, guys. You don't have any other questions? We can wrap up now. Thank you so much.
Just one question, sorry.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So LangChain we can implement with just by importing the package directly. We can code it. But in terms of monitoring, we have to have their paid version, right? Like this one.
Yeah, of course, it has to be paid version. So they will give you some sample, but if you are using in production, that may not be, that's not advisable basically. They only give you some limited access, like, we can create only 2 or 3 projects or something like that. And it's not reliable, right? They are not liable for support. It can be down, they can delete the data, something like that. See, Langflow, I was using trail version. They upgraded and then they removed everything. You cannot
but
use
LangChain is a free version, right? Like importing package
LangChain
directly to
library
develop
is free
agents.
version. Yeah,
Yeah,
LangChain
yeah.
library is free version. Whatever is open source, you can use it. But they say, right, it is at your own risk if you're using in production.
Yeah, most of observability, it's a paid version only, right? There is no, we cannot use
No,
it.
observability also we are using it, right? You can use the same thing. Just use a key and then create, but it will have limited access. You cannot create huge. If you're running in production, there will be huge metrics. So I don't think they will support that data. So there will be limitations. That's why you have
without
to
trial
go
also,
with
there is a free version. We can use it for long term.
No. I think that's a trail version only. You
Trial
can
version, we
use.
cannot use it.
Yeah, that's nothing. So that's why they have the payment, right? For enterprise, it is always they have a separate version. I mean, plan. So you have to always pay if you are using for the enterprise. If they have a plan. But if you have like LangChain, you can use it in production also.
So Sayed, among these products, which one is well matured and then in enterprise are focusing to use that one? Like, do you have any idea on that one?
See, normally enterprises, whichever see like Datadog, right? They have most of the existing observability platforms. They are now adding the AI also. So they continue with whatever they have, the current Datadog and other observability tools. These are the new ones that are like specific to the AI more tools called it. I haven't seen much of observability tools that are implemented just for this. We have, because they have to pay for, right? And most of it are still not production use cases. So they continue to use their existing whatever is the, we have like Datadog, so they continue to use that in the production use cases that we have.
Yeah, observability takes time, but how about the agent development? Which tool everybody is trying to use? Like LangChain,
Agentic,
LangFlow,
yeah. So there are some AutoGen and Crew AI. The LangChain is always there. Everybody uses LangChain. Okay. Default. But on top of that, we use Crew AI, and some use cases they use AutoGen. AutoGen is a little older, not much adoption right now. But this Crew AI is one. LangGraph and Crew AI is most of them are using.
So Agno is very less compared to this, right?
Agno is basic kind of.
Yes.
It's close to LangChain. Easy to use, but adoption I don't see much on the Agno library.
Okay.
But it's easy to use and get started with for quick use cases.
Okay. Again, coming back to the same question. The LangChain doesn't have a user interface to develop the agent. It's only coding, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
UI interface, very so like I said, LangFlow, AgentKit, Bedrock, Vertex AI has something, AI Foundry from Azure, AgentKit from OpenAI, all of this. Crew AI also, I think, they started UI based platform.
In the last demo, you showed GrewAI with the AI with the user interface only, right? So
Yes, yeah. No.
Yeah.
GrewAI, we did only code-based, the libraries, importing the GrewAI libraries. UI-based, we did LangFlow.
Okay.
Yeah. But GrewAI
Yeah,
also
thanks.
has, they also built, I think, UI-based. Earlier, it was not there. I think recently they released that.
Correct.
Yeah, we'll discuss more. Next week we can bring all our questions, use cases for general discussion, and then we'll see how we want to develop more, as a group, if we want to develop solutions and use cases. Okay.
Sure.
Any other
Thanks,
questions,
Felix.
guys? Drop off. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a nice weekend. We'll meet next week then. Okay. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Yeah, good day.